Hey, Mike, good to be with you.
Yes.
Here we are again. I'm not sure what this is. I think it's a podcast.
Yep, our
That's
first
kind of foreign to
podcast.
me. I've heard of podcasts, never been in a podcast, but should be fun.
Yes, this is going to be the first podcast exclusively for business owners.
Yes.
So we're really talking to the business owners in the area or nationally, wherever you're at, because business owners all have very unique situations and they have unique solutions when they're getting ready for retirement. As you know, Dad, because you're
Right.
a business owner,
Right.
you kind of got to
Absolutely.
go at things on your own.
Right. Well, you business owners, you certainly know you've got a lot of headaches to deal with every day. You get up, and as soon as your feet hit the floor, you realize I'm unemployed and I got to get out there and hustle and make something happen. Also, you've got obligations to suppliers, your vendors, your employees have to get paid before you. You have liabilities associated with all types of things in your trade and commerce, whether you're a physician's office or whether you're a small industrial or manufacturing business. So we're delighted you've decided to join us because we're just going to talk a little bit about business and some of the provocative thoughts that business owners should keep in mind when they build their business so that you get the most value out of that business experience.
Yes, in a little bit, we're going to talk to you about some unique retirement options
Right.
because there's 5 different retirement plan options that you have when you're going at it alone. But first, we're going to talk to you a little bit about our business because, Dad,
Right.
you just got back in town. You were over in Italy, so
I
I
was.
definitely want to know how that trip was and some of your highlights.
Okay. Well, listen, it was great. Your mom and I went to Milan, which is a, fashion district. Now, I'm not a fashion horse, as you know, but at the end of the day, we had a lot of fun there. We did some Gucci shopping. Mike, you got a really cool wallet. I think you got it right over here. Matter of fact, I think that's a king snake.
Yep,
Better
yep.
not be a coral snake because that's like, that's poisonous.
No,
I think the difference is the king snake has the black head, the coral snake. I don't know what the reference is, but I think it's a red head red head, you're dead, black, you're okay, or something like that.
Well,
but
the
at
king
the end of the
snake
day,
actually eats every other snake.
so we like that. That's a good thing. And the feral cats. But at the end of the day, it was a great trip. Milan is a beautiful city. They have this magnificent piazza and the Duomo. The architecture there of the cathedral is just breathtaking. And my wife and I sat in this one little terrace up above the city called Obecca. You get to look over the fruits of the spirit and the spires of the cathedral. Just absolutely breathtaking. Those folks know how to viva la dolce, right? Live the sweet life over there. So that was cool. And then we went up to Lake Como. We didn't have any sightings of George Clooney, so some of the women traveling with us were a little disappointed. But we went to some of these quaint little towns like Bellagio, cobblestone streets, and Lake Como is just absolutely breathtaking. It's at the foot of the Italian Alps, and behind them, right over in Switzerland, you see these magnificent snow-capped glacier peaks. The lake itself is about 550 feet deep, and it's very narrow, but it's all glacier-fed. So it's just really pristine, gorgeous. You could sit there and just while away, saunter through the afternoon, spend 3 or 4 hours doing nothing, and enjoying and savoring every moment of it. So it was great. It's always good to get back to South Florida, and my first experience coming back is, of course, Customs and Immigration in Miami Airport. Why can't we get a modern generational airport? It's like a third world country, I'm telling you. But that's just me. It's always nice to come home and hear from the customs agent, welcome home.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm really curious what you were thinking when you were gone because I know, like you said earlier, business owners have unique situations to deal with.
yeah.
And we were moving our offices really
Thank God I
right
wasn't here
from
for that.
under you.
Yeah, absolutely. They basically moved my desk out from under me. They basically would do that if I was in the office because I'm really reluctant to make change. Maybe you feel similar about that. How many of you don't like people poaching in change on your time or whatever? You know what I'm talking about, right? It's just rather disruptive. But they did a brilliant job. The office digs are great. A lot of people are saying great compliments about it. It has a nice rhythm and vibe to it, a little closer to the heart of the city of West Palm, which is our primary jurisdiction. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And now that week 1 is over, are you confident we're going to at least stay around for the long term? I'm sure when you were gone, you were thinking, Michael might just burn down the building. in the
Well,
process.
no, I think we'll be fine. I love George, the distinct security guard. If you ever get to our building, you got to meet George. He's one gracious, warm-hearted individual. But I think, I think it'll be fine. It's got a really good feel, and we're just going to keep marching forward to serve business owners in the community.
Awesome. Well, let's get into some of the topics because I know, like we said before, there's retirement options and plans.
Right.
that are
Exactly
specifically for business owners. They have to kind of go at it themselves.
Right.
You've funded your retirement, and that's the unique situation business owners are going to deal with. So I want to talk about one of their options, and that is a traditional or Roth IRA, because really every business owner should be setting that up for themselves.
That's
as
correct.
far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And the choice is a difficult one. It really depends. Roth or traditional depends on your overall adjusted gross income. Because if your earnings are too high, the ability to put money in a Roth gets phased out, right? They don't want to give preferential tax treatment, tax-free benefits to a more affluent business owner who's a high earner. Think of it this way, though. If you put money in an IRA, you take a tax deduction today. Hopefully the money sprouts up and you diversify, the money grows over time. You got to pay the tax man when you collect the money on the back end, when you're spending money in retirement. A Roth is the opposite of that. Think of it as turning the hourglass over. Instead, you're going to do the exact opposite. You are going to pay the tax when you earn the money, take the after-tax money and plant that seed in the ground, and hopefully it will sprout up and it will grow, and the Roth is going to produce long-term, hopefully tax-free income for your life. So there's a big difference. We can help you make those distinctions, though, because there's some calculation software we do to really help dial in as to whether or not it makes sense for a particular business owner, A, to do a Roth or a traditional, and we can help them figure that out.
Yeah, and as a business owner, you're definitely a yo-yo. You're essentially on your own. So you got to really make sure you're finding all the options and taking advantage of them,
right.
because you don't have an employer to pay your pension or pay into your 401ks with a match or anything like that, because we're going to roll right into that. The second option, which is potentially, as a business owner, Dad, funding a solo 401k. And many business owners don't even think they really can do it, or they don't really think about ever setting it up, even if they know it's an option.
Right. Well, you have to set it up by December 31st in the year you want the tax deduction. And it's basically a single employer simplified 401k. You don't have a lot of administrative headaches, and essentially it allows you to put more money away. So as you become more successful in your business, as you have more free cash flow that's taxable, you may want to consider doing that. And it's very important to set it up systematically, the solo 401k, so money's going in month to month. You know, the big misconception that people have is that, well, I'm going to save money when I have extra money. Well, then you're never going to have any money, because there's no such thing as extra money, right? I could have said that when I was 25 with a daughter 12 and 6 and a son and another one on the way. I was 25, had a mortgage payment of $4,500 a month living up in the Northeast. I had responsibilities, but I still figured out a way to try to prioritize saving first. That's the key. Save money first and invest or spend all of the rest, right? That's the key. Some people say, John, do you believe in budgeting? Sure, it has a place, but I'd rather create a spending plan, but it's got to be spend everything after you save money first. Particularly this day and age, America's changed. It's not the America of our father and mother's generation.
Absolutely.
Many of them had great pensions, so on and so forth, but pensions are kind of quickly diminishing. And today's millennials, you know, younger generation, as you know, Mike, most of them are never going to have a traditional pension.
Oh, yeah,
unless
absolutely.
they're a firefighter, an EMT. So you're really being asked to take more responsibility for your own financial life, which means you have to get really, really smart, financially literate, and associate with advocates that can help you. I sit at the feet or under the great trees planted by great masters that have taught me, and I'm learning something new every day. And I'd like to teach you some things, but at the end of the day, you really have to be looking at these plans, the 401ks, the Roth IRA, which is for you, and figuring that out. It's very, very important, very important for your long-term welfare.
Yeah, absolutely, Dad. And you actually said something there that was very, very wise, and something I want to go back to is you said you need to set it up systematically.
That's why they call me Yoda.
Exactly.
Yoda.
You got to set it up systematically so it is consistent, and that goes back to the good old sage wisdom of Warren Buffett or Darren Hardy. You want to take advantage of compounding and the compound effect, and if you're not consistent, it really could be really catastrophe, because if you're not consistent, you're going to not be able to take advantage of the markets and those sort of things as you're growing your accounts.
Right.
Because you might remove your money at the wrong time.
That's
and
right.
that comes down to consistency. You got to have your money in the markets consistently working for you.
Right.
If you remove it, you potentially, you know better than I do,
Right.
you might just move your money out of the markets at the wrong time.
Absolutely. I'm looking to get this podcast over with so I can go buy some stocks because the market's fallen off a cliff today. So it's probably a really good time to buy for the patient, assiduous investor. You mentioned two different people, Mike, we admire, and I want to draw 2 points out of this. Darren Hardy is a great business leader, a phenomenal coach. Business owners need a coach, because otherwise you go it alone and you're going to make mistakes. You've got to surround yourself with great people, and that includes a great coach. And Darren Hardy is a great coach, and he wrote a book called The Compound Effect, right, or something of that nature. I think it was called, was it Compound Effect?
Simple
and he
and
talks
easy.
about incremental building of changes, even in lifestyle. If you want to lose weight, if you just adjust your caloric intake, if you start doing some exercise, for every $1 of muscle you build, that'll burn 35 grams of fat a day, even if you're in stasis, sitting on your fat ass, is what I'm saying. Muscle incinerates fat. We all know that. Of course, I wouldn't be this lean and buff otherwise. Now, obviously, I don't take all my own advice about nutrition, but I do take it as the opening salvo financially. Warren Buffett is a great example of compound interest, or the compound effect, because when he bought Berkshire Hathaway, the price per share of the stock 54 years ago was $19 today. I'll look at it after our meeting today in this podcast, but it is the most expensive stock on the New York Stock Exchange. I would say it's probably trading for about $323,000 a share. So $19 to $300,000 is pretty darn good, right? There's some lessons in that. And so it's a long-term race, right? Think of it as a long runway. And whether you want to defeat taxes or anything else or build up wealth outside your business, you have to work with a great coach. You have to think for the long view. You have to take action and incorporate things that serve you, such as a solo 401k or a Roth IRA, and weave those things together to really, really set the stage for a strong future.
Yes, absolutely. And we're going to get into one more. So we're going to give you 3 different self-funding options for the small business owners or large business owners, because you are on your own. And we're going to get in the last one, which is a SEP IRA, or like I like to call it, a SEP IRA.
Right.
Because that's another option business owners could take advantage of if
Yep.
they don't have any sort of retirement accounts.
Right. It allows you to put leverage and put more money away and take a bigger tax deduction. Now, they've increased this for inflation, but several years ago, it would be you could put in 25% of your after contribution income. So if your income was $250,000, you could put $50,000 away, because that's 25% of 50,000 is 25% of the remaining 200 after you deduct it from your income. What that does is it's going to create a tailwind. It's going to create compounding benefits as far as tax savings. I had a gentleman in my office this morning that I'm helping. And he had said to me, man, it's a shame I'm going to have to pay all this taxes at 70 and a half. When I said, you're not going to pay all those taxes. I said, the way you eliminate that problem is you defeat that before you get to age 70 and a half, because then it's too late. You need about 10 years to wipe out this tax. So we've got a 10-year plan that he signed off on today. He understood it. It's intelligent. And now we just have to make sure that we follow through. But my role there now is just as an advocate to make sure he's accountable to the plan and follows through on it. And I'll have to remind him every year as to why we did what we did, because he's bound to forget. Don't you find that? Busy business owners really only give you a little bit of bandwidth at a time. Usually they're distracted by a cacophony of things, clamoring employees or bills that have to be paid or obligations to be met, or, whatever it might be. So at the end of the day, take advantage of these things, right? Make sure you get a good coach. Make sure that you have an advocate in your corner. Make sure that you take advantage of these different pension options and figure out what's going to work best for you based on your unique situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he just said, you need a coach, and your financial advisor should be your advisor and also coaching you all along the way, because, Dad, like you said, sometimes you might put a plan in place, but then
Right.
people don't exactly want to follow the plan. So you're partially advising. You're really also coaching and playing a therapist role, because
That's right.
you need to keep everything going when the markets tank and everything's up in flames.
That's right.
You got to keep your confidence going straight on forward.
You have to. There's no doubt about it. There's no room for, listen, everybody's going to suffer a certain amount of discouragement or despair, but you know what? The best remedy for that is just go to work. Really. Do something. Even if you don't feel good. Have you ever noticed that if you do something, you start to feel better? And I think that's the principle that Tony Robbins talks about of physiology. For instance, if you're slumped in your chair and you're breathing shallow, oh, poor me. I want to go to sleep right now. I just want to go eat a tub of ice cream. No, throw your shoulders back. Take deep breaths. Lower your voice. Be passionate. Move your body. And guess what? All of a sudden you start to feel better. So that's my suggestion to you as well. But you already know that. As a business owner, you couldn't have survived long enough to not be employed working for somebody else to watch this video with these two knuckleheads if you weren't somewhat successful. The reason you're probably watching is either curiosity or because you want to become more successful and you're learning, you're yearning for learning. So hopefully you're getting something out of this program.
Yes, and hopefully you will tune back in when we go over the other 2 self-funding options, because we just shared 3 of them with you today. But when we come back next week, we're going to talk to you about the other retirement plan options. So we're going to be dropping this. I think we're going to do 1 a week is what we're hoping
Sounds
for.
like a plan. Folks, great to visit with you, Mike. Always great to be with you. And I hope our visual audience is just going to have a magnificent day.
Yes, we will see you guys next week. Come on back. If you're a small business owner, a large business owner, or someone just curious about business, this is the show for you, because we're going to mix retirement and business together. That way, at the end of the day, as a self-employed individual, you know exactly what you're going to need to do.
That's right. Have a great day, folks.